Do you want to go into Not My Type and explain the premise of your show, and what you think would make for a more successful love match on a show?
Yeah, for sure. So, Not My Type is a Christian dating series, and it's designed to explore if having Jesus at the center of a relationship is enough to create compatibility in ways where you might not have typically picked that person out if they're in a group, in a crowd, but just
Mhm.
exploring the idea of dating outside of your comfort zone. And it honestly is inspired by me and John, the guy who I'm seeing, because he's totally not my type and he's not the kind of guy I would have ever picked first.
Yeah.
Um, I'm totally attracted to him. I think he's so handsome and so wonderful, but I always just went for like the bad boys, the tattoos, the love bombing, the rush, the like initial adrenaline, stuff like that. And when I met John, he is totally not my type. He's just like this
Yep.
all American, East Coast, New Jersey guy with no tattoos, comes from like a nice Catholic family, like grew up, had a nice childhood, like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Just totally not my type. And I've been so blessed by the relationship, and it inspired me to create Not My Type, because I'm like, wow, I wonder how many people are out there with this exact idea of who they're going to end up with, and they're missing out on blessings that could be right in front of their face because they're waiting for their exact type to come along. And God might put somebody in your path that maybe is not your typical cup of tea, but it could be really good for you and really
Yeah.
healing for you, and is what you need, and you don't even know you need it.
Yeah. I'll just say my husband was not my type at all. So I actually love that title for a Christian dating show because you just never know what God is going to present you with. And a lot of
Yeah,
times your type is like, you can explain it like physically,
yeah,
but God is so beyond that. He
mhm,
knows like what our soul needs, what our heart needs.
yeah, for sure. And when I was in my whole like kingdom spouse space, I remember the people who I thought like, oh my gosh, is this my kingdom spouse? Is this my kingdom spouse? Those were the people who were exactly my type. Those were the
Mm,
people who were like, oh my gosh, they have the tattoos. They were a certain essence, a certain vibe, certain swag to them. And I
yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, this making a spouse? Is this making a spouse? And it was just me chasing my tail. When I
Yeah.
gave a guy who was not my type, and it wasn't like I heard this booming voice from the sky say, this is the one I have for you, Ashley. It was like, here's a nice guy out of my comfort zone. Let me explore this relationship. And it wasn't this like love bombing adrenaline type situation. It was a very slow and steady,
Mhm.
gradual pace, which
Yeah.
I was not used to. And I would have never sought that out for myself. And so the goal for Not My Type is to explore what it looks like to date outside your comfort zone, and to kind of try something that you aren't used to. Because what I'm used to is not healthy. It was not healthy. It wasn't
Yeah.
sustainable. It was very flesh based. And when I gave something a try that was good for my spirit, I was so blessed by it. But
Mm.
um and yeah, and so my heart behind it is to just encourage Christians to step out of their comfort zone, try something new, have an open mind, because there might be blessings all around you and you're just missing it because you're clinging so tight to like, this is the exact kind of guy, look
Yeah.
wise or personality wise, that I want to marry. Um, I definitely don't think it's wrong to have your preferences as to who you're attracted to or the type of person you're attracted to. There's nothing wrong with that. And for some people, they want to wait until they find the exact person that it checks off all these physical boxes, personality boxes, stuff like that. Because even personality wise, John and I are very different. Like,
Mhm.
I was never exposed to certain ways of thinking that he has, or lifestyle choices, or like just even like little things like growing up at the grocery store. I would always see my mom get the cheapest spaghetti sauce available. and then like going to his family's house and seeing that they get like nice spaghetti sauce. They care about like the flavor. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I did not start using a meat thermometer until I met John. I didn't even know it existed, that I could like find out the temperature of my meat to see if
Well,
it's
I love that for you.
real. I'm not kidding. My whole life, because like I just would, just like I see growing up, you just cook it an extra 10 minutes. Doesn't matter if it's dry, as long as it's like doesn't have like salmonella. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just,
yeah.
and so like little things like that, or like you can enjoy the flavor of food and you pay a little extra, but you get to have like higher quality, like little things like that. I
Yep.
have never been exposed to in that regard. And so I'm so blessed to experience this new kind of lifestyle and just like little things that are so different from what I'm
Mhm.
used to.
I
Um,
love how, like, on the show too, that you have, the participants explain what they think the other person might look like, and then
mhm,
it's completely not that, like, the people who showed up to go on the date were completely not what they were expecting
mhm.
physically. I love hearing your voice in the background, like, asking them questions and, like, I don't know, the show is just so fun and wholesome, and I could really see it growing into just being an amazing thing if you were to get more funding to it and this
Mhm.
could actually, like, blow up. Do you happen to have a list of some of the questions that you have them ask each other on the show? Because I love those as well.
Yeah. So, well, for the show and for future casting, because I'm actually casting for season one for an entire set of 8 episodes. So I'm already planning filming in Dallas because God has been blessing me with connections in the industry and this person and that person. So I'm like this close to being
Nice.
able to like go film for an entire week in Dallas. So praise God for that. It's been a long time coming. Like after I made the first episode, immediately I was like, more.
Mhm.
But it was like it's been a journey to make more episodes. And I'm just so ready to get after it. But God has been teaching me a lot. There's been a lot of like potential investors and this and that. And God has just been teaching me a lot of like business stuff. But praise
Yeah.
God, we're like this close. I've already begun casting for Dallas. Um, I ask them now. I ask them in the cast interviews. I ask them if they feel comfortable enough to make conversation with the person, or if they need question cards to help guide the conversation, or if they
Okay.
need me as a producer to chime in, because I want to make sure when they're on their date that they have fun, first of all, that they vibe, but that they also don't feel like panicked and that they can't think of like what to say or what to ask. So
Yeah.
definitely having them share their testimony right off
Mhm.
the bat is huge. So that's something that in filming we did that in filming and Not My Type, the first pilot episode, but then also in the future, because what the viewers don't see is that that was actually only like 20, or not even 20, that was like only 12 or so minutes of 40 minutes of them talking. So they actually sat down and they talked for almost an hour.
Wow.
And then we took the most interesting clips from their conversation and then put it together and then put that out for the audience. But there's a lot of footage that went unseen, because sometimes the conversation might fall flat or it just wasn't that engaging of a question.
Yeah.
So,
No,
so
I love that you have them start with the testimony because that's how my husband and I started. Like, people are like, "How did you guys get married so quick? That's crazy." Well, because we didn't waste time. Okay, A,
yeah,
it is a little crazy what we did, but B, we didn't waste time. Like, I told him my testimony right away. I asked him about his relationship with God right away. If you can get to like the core like
right,
that really quick,
yes.
I think that you can bond with a person at a way deeper
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, it definitely creates such a strong connection, and it's so vulnerable, and
Mhm.
you can like it just makes you feel connected to a person so much more and faster when you can connect on something so huge in your life.
Yeah.
So, even with like future episodes of Not My Type, um I am making it a point to not only make it physically not their type, but also that could be personality wise. So, for example, I really want to have like a city boy with like a country girl, like a cowgirl. You know what I mean?
I
Maybe
like that. Yeah.
they are physically each other's type. Like maybe he does like brunettes and she does like blonde guys. Personality wise, like if they have differences in personalities or like lifestyles and stuff, I think that that would also be interesting. So it's not always just like physical, where like you're going to
Mhm.
get the opposite of what you're attracted to. I think also there are different aspects of like people not being your type that I definitely want to explore. But I always ask everybody in casting, I say, what are your deal breakers? I always ask them about like denominations. Like,
Mhm.
do they have any boundaries as far as like they don't want to date people from certain, because there's just some things where it's like the if the incompatibility is too like glaring, it's not gonna be fun for anybody on the date. There's not
Yeah. Yeah.
compatibility. They already know off the bat they're just so different in those regards. So there are questions I ask in casting to get to know them, what they're looking for. I always try to be so clear. This show is called Not My Type because people see Christian dating show, Christian dating series, and they're like, "Yay, I'm gonna meet like my perfect guy or perfect girl." And I'm like, "You understand though? This is called Not My Type, so you will be out of your comfort zone." So I do
Mhm.
ask about their dating history. I ask about their previous relationships. What has their type been? Um,
You know what? And at the very least, like, they will learn something, and the viewers watching will learn
mhm,
something as well.
mhm.
Like, the kinda conversations you should be having on a potential date,
Yes.
the questions to reflect on, and, the main question that the show seems to ask is, like, "Is Jesus enough to possibly form a connection beyond
Yeah.
those things?" So it
Yeah.
kinda gets that variable, singled out to test that specifically
Yeah.
alone.
And we can testify from our own experiences. Yeah, that like putting Christ at the center will create bonds with people, like with your husband and with the guy who I'm with. Like, yeah, having Jesus as like the foundation and as the center point did create a kind of connection that was so
Yeah.
deep and withstood certain trials and tribulations and doubt and stuff.
Yep.
So I do want to encourage, and honestly, the biggest thing behind the show that for me is that I loved in the pilot how you could just see Christ like shining through
Yeah.
the participants, and they were just genuinely such good people. The girl was so amazing, the guy was so amazing, and that's like what I want people to see so that their standards are like higher. Because had I watched something like that when I was a baby Christian, my standards would have been so much higher than they were.
Mhm.
I just did not know men like that or women like that like existed. You know what I
Yeah, or
mean?
even before I was a Christian, I
Yeah.
would've been like, "Oh, wait, like, this is pure. This feels good and, like, safe."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. My standards were just so like non-existent or low. And so my biggest thing is that people would walk away from it knowing that stuff like this exists out there, conversations like this can happen on a first date. There are guys like this out in the world, there are women like this out in the world, and like you don't have to settle and just like keep pushing until you find like people like this. And so that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest things is like when I talk to people, I'm like hearing their character, I'm hearing their heart, I'm thinking in my head, are they going to be a good representative for like a impressionable woman or man watching this? Like, are they going
Yeah,
to be a good leader?
that's huge.
Yeah, so that's like the biggest thing for me.
So, I love it, and I don't wanna cut this short at all, but my husband and baby keep peeking in the door at me.
You're
So,
done.
they peeked in twice.
Just
Um,
a little side eye, like, need you.
so could you just tell the listeners how to find you, how they could support you, and yeah, where to go watch Not
Yeah.
My Type?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can watch Not My Type on YouTube. I'm currently working on having it be brought to different streaming platforms. Yay, praise God.
Yeah.
So that is in the works. We are casting for season 1 out in Dallas. So if you or anybody you know are out in that area or that surrounding area, we would love to have you apply. There is a link on all of my social media where you can fill out a casting form. It shouldn't take you more than probably 20 minutes to fill out. We're looking for all types of men and women, ages about 22 to 32 ish, but that is totally flexible as long as you're over 18.
Yeah.
That's the only requirement. But yeah, if this resonates with you and you want to participate or know someone who does, that is so helpful. There are God is totally blessing this process, so there are opportunities to donate if you want to. That is also in my links, but there's no pressure to do that because we're still the show will continue on with or without that. Praise God.
Praise God, yeah.
Um, but yeah, and just sharing the word about it. Um, Engaging with it is always great. But yeah, I just look forward to making more
Yay, I can't
unfulfilled
wait.
yeah.
Being a nursing mom, I sit in one place a lot of the day watching shows. I've been watching Good Luck
Yes.
Charlie reruns. I
Oh
don't know if
my
anybody,
gosh.
but I love dating shows and I've watched most of them, so I can't wait for Not
Mhm.
My Type to come out.